Sick.
Bob Durand.
Bob Durand.
Bob Durand.
Bob Durand.
I popped it in.
Bob Durand popped it in.
And welcome to the MoxStars Podcast, everybody. My name is Jordan Garcia. I'm one of your hosts, one of the better ones, and I'm joined by my two friends and two of the other hosts of the MoxStars Podcast, Evan Kunai.
Oh, dude. The better one.
And Christopher Ritter.
Top 3 host.
All right, guys. Today we're talking about Evan's shitty Atraxa deck, but before we get to that, we got some intro topics. We're talking about MaRo's teasers for Phyrexia All Will Be One. Some spicy nuggets in there. After that, a quick little discussion on why no Brawl? Why no Brawl?
Why is Brawl?
Why is it a digital-only format?
Exactly. I think it has potential and has legs as a physical format. We just aren't giving it any love. All right, so first things first. MaRo dropped some bombs on us today.
Oh, yeah. This teaser was actually lit as fuck. Because while we all knew quite a bit about the rares that were going to be in this set and all the keywords and stuff, that stuff has already been shown. And he acknowledges that just by being like, hey, if you want to see it, it's out there. So some of this stuff has already been like spoiled in a way, but this list was very enlightening.
Yeah, we got some really cool stuff. I think one everybody's hyped for is the new Sort of Blank and Blank is coming out.
Let's go! Hopefully it's the Gruul one.
I'm hoping it's Demir. I'm the Demir guy.
Those are the only two left to complete the cycle?
Supposedly, those are
Okay.
the two last
Yeah.
ones.
Yep.
Chris, what's your vote?
My vote for of the MaRo spoilers?
Or for the of the two, the swords.
Of the two,
Would you
I
rather see?
actually have never run any of the swords in any deck.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, whatever. I'm just happy that you guys are having fun.
Way to
Chris
not
likes
take
Smash.
sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way to not take sides on that.
Yep. Truly do not have an opinion.
Is there anything else that's catching your guys' eye from the spoilies today?
No, you know what I enjoy about this is that, like, when Mark Rosewater releases this list, it's like the people on Reddit, the community coming together to be like, all right, let's decipher this and, like,
What could
figure
this
out,
be?
like, what's going to happen. And, like, also, like, you know, what they don't figure out, seeing what they're hyped for. Like, everyone is hyped to find out, like, what the Phyrexian dinosaur is.
I was just going to say that. Like, they've always... Like, dinosaurs have been this, like, sort of, like, kooky, almost meme-type creature in the past. And so now that they're doing Phyrexian dinosaur, I'm super stoked for it.
Yeah, give us a Phyrexian ape. Like,
Yes,
let's
please.
all those,
I never
like,
thought about
minor
these.
tribes. Phyrexian squirrel.
Right.
You know?
What if they just like started pulling legendaries out of the past and like just, hey, you're Phyrexianified now? Would be
I mean, they
sick.
kind of have with, like, Venser.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venser's hot. I want to see like a Phyrexian Kogla.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Get out of here. Kogla's already too good.
That'd be so hot.
Yeah. I would say that one thing that piqued my interest on this is if one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead.
Yeah, definitely every single one of those effects that already exist, like doubling season and parallel lives, is a super expensive card.
Yeah, even Adrix and Nev or whatever is a card that's still continuously rising just because of that wording that it has of creating double the number
Yeah,
of
and
tokens.
isn't there some sort of interaction with the new Elish Norn right there? Because, like, if an ETB happens, it doubles the effect for you, right?
Yes.
So doubling, like, I don't know how that interacts.
Yeah, I think it's just 3 triggers.
Okay.
Most of the
Yeah.
time, yeah. But it's just to be able to double it tells you how valuable it already is, and then to triple it just sends it through the roof. So yeah, that's when you're really breaking parity if you're able to like stack those effects like that.
Right. The other thing I'm seeing is a 4-color legendary creature. Is that going to be our Atraxa?
Oh, 100%.
So we're talking 4-color. We're not talking 5-color.
Urabrask is definitely not on the same side. Like he is still the
Oh,
same.
fair enough.
You know, that was the reason for Atraxa's colors being what they
they're-
were initially.
They are teasing some, like, big betrayals in the storyline.
Yes, they
like,
are.
So maybe we're losing blue for, like, getting red in Atraxa, and you see a different element.
That's true because there's the whispers of Jingataxius having his own plan in the background of this whole thing. So,
As well as Shulrid having her own plan.
yeah, they're very much solo entities being united by one. And God, I really wish Atraxa would have been 5 colors here, so all will be one, and then it's sort of uniting all of those Praetors. But I totally get, totally get if like they drop one of the colors and add red in.
Yeah,
there.
there's a lore component to back that up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
I fuck with that.
Yeah, we haven't seen any Urabrask in
True.
anything in a while since Nuka Penna, right?
Right. Yeah, he's just been that outlier
Right.
in the tribe.
I'm also seeing a Phyrexianized Staff of Domination, historically a very good card in lots of combo outlets. So I'm just hoping to see something a little better.
I wonder
a little
if they'll-
2023 Staff of Domination. You know what I'm saying?
It's weird because like Wizards is of like two minds when they do this kind of stuff. Like either they print the improved version that people want, or they print an obviously nerfed version.
Not nearly as good.
Like I forget what it's called, but if you look in Brothers War, there's like a super nerfed Phyrexian altar. Or
Right.
Ashnod's altar,
Yeah,
which
I
is
know
like,
what you're talking
it's the updated version that you can have standard legal,
Transmogrant?
but it's just, transmogrant altar, something of that nature.
Yeah, but then there's the crown too. That is just the clearly like downshifted skull clamp too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would say like that is a spicy little thing, the Phyrexianized Staff of Domination, because when I think about that, my first thought is, are we going to get colorless Phyrexian mana now?
like pay 2 life to activate this artifact.
Yeah,
That is
or-
a fucking awesome idea.
or like in order to cast it, it's Phyrexian
okay.
colorless mana.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. That'd be very cool.
I feel like he would have maybe sprinkled that in the list had it been like
Right.
part of the set. But I mean, if you're hiding that and you're going to keep that for like the spiciest mythic in the set, I'm cool with that too.
I also like seeing the phrasing here. Then if a graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, you draw 3 cards.
Yeah, that's completed, Jace. I think
Oh,
that-
we already have this one?
we saw partial text on
Okay.
that spoiled for a few weeks now.
Yeah, it was super
And-
fuzzy, and I was like,
yeah.
I'm not going to fucking bother reading this.
Yeah, I mean, that fits most neatly into that slot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm chill with that. I like drawing 3 cards. Ancestral Recall's good.
Yeah, they're really doing a lot of doubling effects here. And it just, to me, this says this is going to be one of the more valuable sets for Commander in recent memory.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of
Definitely.
like complex rules at play in this set, which is
And big
generally like the
bombs.
things that get picked up in Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the one that we know. We just saw Vraska get spoiled. If target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference. And then the fact that her 0 is also a proliferate just is, I think that's just great flavor. She can just literally do the job herself and just win the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to get 5 black mana. I mean, 1 black mana and then 4 colorless and 2 life,
Right.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, so overall, this list is actually spicy. It's a little bit more, sheds a little bit more light on the set, even though we haven't seen any of the mythics. Well, we haven't seen some of the mythics yet. It's still really exciting.
This is like a juicier teaser than MaRo usually lets out, I'd say.
Yeah, regardless of like how many rares have been spoiled, and we know 58 of 60 of them, I still think there's a lot to be revealed, and there's a lot of excitement left
Totally.
for this.
Very, very hyped.
Yeah, I mean, everything we've seen from this set has been has had a lot of gas. So I would expect the mythic cycle to definitely bring a lot of excitement.
I'm also excited, like, as far as the structure of the release cycle of 2023, that we're not starting off with just some kind of like gimme throwaway set to start off the year quiet.
I mean, that's kind of Dominaria remastered.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think
Yeah.
like in terms of like standard legal, that was dog shit to draft, by the way.
Yeah, it was the absolute worst.
But I think like having such a big story impact right at the top of the year, and then kind of like all of that disseminates to other sets throughout the rest of the year's release, I think that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on Reddit, you already see people looking at the like lore of this set and like speculating what March of the Machines is going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely
Like-
making me want to get more into lore, which is something I, really usually ignore for the most part in Magic.
Yeah,
I wanna get
mean,
into it.
Everyone always says that every story has already been told, just it gets retold in,
Yeah.
with different words
How
from time
cool
to
you
time.
can tell it.
Yeah, and I feel like they're telling a really cool rehashed version of something I've never even heard before. I feel like
I
this is a
mean, they
pretty
are
unique
literally retelling like the core of Magic's story, which
Yeah.
is like Urza versus the Phyrexians.
Which was like the Avengers 1 movie storyline.
There we go.
which is what-
Now we're pulling all the pieces together.
But anyway, we are moving on to our next topic here. We're talking, why no Brawl?
Why no Brawl?
You can clip
So
that.
what is Brawl?
Brawl is
For people not logged on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It is 1v1 commander, essentially. You still have a 100-card deck. You have 25 life. And card pool wise, it's a smaller than Commander. It is what is standard legal. Now there's a version on Arena that is historic Brawl, which is a little different. It has
Closer to Pioneer.
It's got alchemy cards and bullshit. And we're not talking about that right now. While viable online, not in the real world. I do think there's a world for Brawl to exist in paper, and I wish it did, because I would be totally stoked to build a Brawl deck.
I mean, I feel like Brawl in paper shortcuts a lot of like Rule Zero conversations that you have to have, and like shortcuts the idea of like having to be truthful about the power level, or being able to like gauge the power level of your deck in those conversations.
Yeah, like coming from Commander, which 4-player, very like talkative kind of thing, where we're very casual, communicating about what we want to play and what we want to see. Going into a 1v1 when I started playing Modern or whatever, I was like, oh, it's very different. It is just, you're there to win, you'll slit the other person's throat and we'll walk away. So it is applying that concept exactly to a Commander style deck building.
Yeah, a lot of this Rule Zero stuff goes out the window as soon as you just whittle it down to 1v1. It's like one of us is coming out of here alive. Like that is just the understanding, like the very basic principle of it.
Yeah, like hand hate feels bad in Commander, especially when it's like, you target one person, it doesn't affect the two other people. That's a feel bad, whatever. But 1v1 hand hate's just awesome. Like a Thoughtseize is against the other person. That is one great card you no longer have access to.
Yeah, that's one cool thing about Brawl, I guess, compared to like a 4-player Commander game, is that cards do different things, right? Like Dockside is not legal, and it's just overpowered in the Commander format.
Exactly.
Already a good reason to play Brawl.
Yeah,
Dockside is not legal. If you hear nothing else.
Yeah, well, there is one card that is legal that is a bit unnerving, and that's Paradox Engine. It's something that is played in pretty much every deck at the competitive level in Brawl.
Yeah, so. It is kind of insane that is still legal, but I think if there is enough of a player base to generate people putting eyes on a ban list, people will come to the conclusion that we should ban Paradox.
Does Brawl have a ban list already?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Is it just the stuff that entered via the Strixhaven archives, that like channel and things like that, where they had to adjust it for historic, or is
for sure? Like, yeah, those are definitely banned.
Okay. But it's also things specific to the format where they're like, this is too much of a combo enabler.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a few things I was kind of surprised by, but also like one thing I've seen a lot of people talking about needing banned is Dark Ritual.
Yes.
Because that is extremely, extremely good.
Yeah, it's a mana accelerator for sure.
Yeah.
It has put in work for 30 years now plus.
Yeah.
So it's funny that we say that Brawl is not a format, but Wizards of the Coast is still honoring it and updating the ban list.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny because right now their ban list for Brawl is Chalice of the Void, Drannith Magistrate, Lutri, Oko, Omnath Locus of Creation, Ruined Halo, Sorcerer's Spyglass, Winota, and Pithing Needle. And those are the only cards that are banned.
You know what's interesting is that they banned Drannith Magistrate, as well as like Sorcerer's Spyglass and Pithing Needle, which capture aspects of that. A lot of people, if you go on Reddit, they're calling for, they want Drannith banned in Commander because, it's a card that like on its face just like keeps that asymmetry of like 3 other players at the table can't cast their commander.
Right.
I guess it is way more OP in 1v1, where it's just like you have the player that plays it and then the player that can't cast their commander
It's
anymore.
pretty crazy.
They're just literally pinned to the ground. They
Yeah.
can't move. Or they at least can't enact the strategy that their deck is built around. And I totally get that. Like, it makes everyone just want to play one color deck, and that is white. If white needs to be included in your deck, if Drannith Magistrate is legal, and I get why why Winota is also banned. Winota is just insane. They're
Also
looking at
insane
it.
in Commander.
Yeah. So it honestly doesn't scale up or down based on like what format you're playing, Commander or Brawl. Winota still is just as strong in either format. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah.
It doesn't gain anything. Like in CDH, I play my Malcolm Vile Smasher list, and that really suffers from losing a person, right? Like my combo requires having enough people to hit so I can generate enough treasures to go infinite. Docksides get way worse and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of weirdness in CDH. They're mechanically speaking, Magic is really tough to keep on the rails at 4 players, especially when you're playing some of the most broken cards in Magic's history. And there's a lot of weirdness. Sometimes we're at a tournament, and the first game of the tournament, we're a 3-player pod, you know? Yeah. And like, so that really just kind of changes the texture of the game and what you're able to do sometimes. And it's creates a lot of weirdness, I think. So I think in my head, Brawl is actually kind of a great way to clean things up in a competitive nature for Commander, and while still playing kind of the similar vibe.
Yeah, ever since Brawl was introduced with Throne of Eldraine, those like pre-constructed decks, they were saying that the decks were 60 cards. I think that's the size of the deck that they sold you. Mm-hmm. And then they were saying, yeah, it's standard legal, so everything that's in standard rotates, and that's how Brawl will operate. I love the idea. I've always thought Commander needed that. Like, Commander needed that line drawn in the sand to be like, sort of like the way they did it with Modern, right? When they had decided to like cut Legacy and Vintage away and say like, here's the line in the sand. This is now Modern, and then here's another line. This is the rotating format and standard.
Yeah, that goes
Commander
beyond like
that.
the distinction between like Commander and like Battle Cruiser Commander, which is also like kind of like a Rule Zero discussion where you're like, hey, we're all in agreement that we're here to just drop chunky bodies.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it would just go a long ways. I know it's like that Rule Zero conversation, blah, blah, blah. Like, everyone's going to come into expecting one thing, and then you could potentially be playing another thing. And now all of a sudden, your decks aren't legal because you're playing a Mana Crypt, you know, and you don't have a card to replace it with you or whatever. To like, it's one thing that's keeping you from playing a particular format. So, Brawl, I think it's up and coming. It's rising. And if you guys like content creators on YouTube, Covert Go Blue does an incredible series on historic Brawl, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. So give that a shout too. Like, yeah, he's a great content creator.
Last thing I want to say, because I forgot to mention it, you also get to have planeswalkers instead of creatures as your commander, which is pretty freaking dang cool.
Yeah, it's made for some tasty brews.
Very tasty brews, tons of more options on the table. It's pretty sick.
Now, what is... you know what? Let's not get on this tangent. Never mind.
We'll talk more about Brawl in the future as we fuck around with it. Maybe we get our pod to print off some decks and play some. But moving on to our main and most illustrious topic, Atraxa. We're talking about Evan's Atraxa deck.
Atraxa! Yeah!
Perfect timing. You know, we're just about to go into the like more one spoilers and everything like that, so it's perfect. We're talking old school Atraxa. You know it, you love it, you hate it. Evan, tell us about your deck.
I hate it.
You hate your deck.
Yeah, I hate my deck. And it's not for... it's not because it's without passion. This was one of the first decks that I ever built.
I mean, we have a deck tech pod on this, and I think you mentioned last week in the episode rebuilding this deck.
Yeah. I was rebuilding it. It was way back. The history goes way back to like before War of the Spark, before like Planeswalkers. I mean, Planeswalkers are still a thing, but I was playing this deck, and this is the deck that I was playing against Jordan when I taught you how to play, Jordan, and then
playing 1v1.
Yeah, playing 1v1, and this was just a deck that could surmount any obstacle. It just seemed, and it's like the reason that I hate it now is because it almost feels like I'm watching the movie Jaws, and I am Jaws. And whenever people see it come out and sit in the command zone, it's like dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it. And then once Atraxa hits the board, they're go kill it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been holding up that removal this whole time, waiting for you to cast it.
Yep. Yeah, literally, there were 3 games that we played one night, and I didn't get to connect with Atraxa once. Yep. I got like 1 proliferate trigger, and it was hard. Like, it was a hard pill to swallow. But before the games even started, I said, you got to keep it down. Like, you literally have to keep the lid on Atraxa, otherwise it gets out of control.
I mean, even if you don't know that and you don't get that warning, there's enough keywords on that card where you're just like, well, probably some bullshit's going to happen that I have to watch out for.
So while I do love and hate, there's a love-hate relationship thing going on here, this deck has a reputation. It doesn't matter how you build it. It doesn't matter what cards are in it. If Atraxa sits in that command zone and there's a potential for it to hit the battlefield, you will be targeted. So even at the Rule Zero conversations, I can't seem to convince people that this deck is not the Atraxa deck that you've come to know and love or hate. This one is different, and just people that just are not convinced at all. So what I've done with Atraxa is sort of fall back. I think it's been something that a lot as players we do is we move forward too quickly through sets. And like the amount of sets we see recently has just been overwhelming. And so I dialed it back to Strixhaven.
It's nice to go back.
Yeah. It's great to go back. I dialed it back to Strixhaven when Magecraft and Fractals were a thing, because I think one of the biggest, like, chunkiest Timmy things I can do is make a big +1/+1 creature with no abilities that's just gonna smash face. So that's what I did, is I built Atractals or FRACTALaxa, whatever you want to call it, and it's been a lot of fun to play because you get to play some pretty crazy cards. Like Fractals don't have a ton of support. There's the one board wipe over Simplify, which is 3 green and a blue sorcery that exiles all creatures, and then each player creates a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token and puts a +1/+1 counters on it equal to the total power of creatures that they controlled that were exiled this way. And at the end step, you don't have to proliferate their things. You can, but you don't have to. So you can proliferate your things. And then Dika, Fractal Theorist. I've always loved this card. Like, it's great. Magecraft is busted.
And
I mean,
Shark
it's part of
Typhoon.
an infinite combo. At least with Chain of Smog and
which
with
I'm
Bloom
playing.
Apprentice, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's not that great. I'm just creating, like...
Super funny, though.
So fragile.
It's so fragile. It hits the battlefield, and it's like, yeah, and then I'll cast Chain of Smog, and they're like, okay, then what happens? And I go, I guess I create infinite 2/2s.
I'd
When
let
I
you
do not
discard
have
your
haste.
hand in
Yeah.
3 2/2s.
No way to I have no way to defend myself. It's got to go all the way around the table before it gets back to me.
There's no way that's ever happening.
So the combo's in there, but it's not like amazing by any means. I'm also playing like another board wipe, Perplexing Test. I know it's not like strictly related to Fractals, but it was from Strixhaven in this commander decks.
It's kind of going the vibe, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm bouncing all non-token creatures back to their hands, and that leaves my board intact. So hopefully one-sided. A great card that is maybe not getting enough credit in general is Emergent Sequence. I love it. It's 1 and a green, a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. That land becomes a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put a creature, but still a land. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each land you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So if you play a fetch and then you play that, you have a 3/3 on the battlefield.
Not bad. Not a bad rate.
I could definitely see some like constructed deck building around that and trying to like just crank out some like 3 or 4 drop creatures.
Yeah, and then you just go ahead and the next turn you play Atraxa, and then you just proliferate that, and now you're looking at a 4/4, and a 5/5, and a 6/6. Like, and you know, it depends what kind of like enchantments and good stuffs you're playing with it, like Doubling Season or whatever, Primal Vigor. This is on my scale of powerful enchantments that don't get enough credit, is at the top of my list, and it's Paradox Zone. It's 4 and a green enchantment that enters the battlefield with a growth counter, and then at the beginning of your end step, double the number of growth counters on Paradox Zone, then create a fractal creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of growth counters on Paradox Zone.
This does start getting out of hand. Even without Atraxa, you're like, it's a clock.
Yeah, it's just generates like these crazy huge creatures. And like, yeah, Doubling Season again. There's all those like, if you create a token, create twice as many instead. Or like you can play Vorinclex, and all of a sudden the amount of +1/+1 counters you're putting on it are crazy.
Even if you're not putting new cardboard on the battlefield with this deck, every turn you're spending some amount of time, like a worrisome amount of time, like changing the amount of counters on things.
Yeah.
You know, and you know
Doesn't
something's
look
about
good.
to happen.
That is, yeah. Honestly, it's probably the one thing that just sets off so many alarms with people is like, I'll go into my end step and give me like 4 or 5 minutes. I have to start flipping dice over.
Put a counter on Blast Zone, and I'm just like, kill him.
Yeah.
Gotta start going right to face.
So Paradox Zone, great card. Even if you're not playing Atraxa, I still think it's a great card. If you're playing anything +1/+1 counter focused. Fractal Harness is the next card. And these cards are a little bit more pet. Like their pet cards are not essential to the strategy, but they do fractal things. So Fractal Harness is an equipment you can use, and whenever the creature attacks it's equipped to, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. Sequence Engine is a way to exile creature cards from other players' graveyards to either disassemble combos or just in general have creature board like presence on your board with creatures. Geometric Nexus. Now, this actually set off some alarms. It was hilarious to see it happen
funny.
last week because on turn 2, I play this, and then the whole table goes, kill him! And I was like, what?
It was like the first thing you had that you could potentially proliferate and didn't even have Atraxa.
So what does this card do?
So Geometric Nexus is a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of charge counters on Geometric Nexus equal to the spell's mana value. And then you can pay 6, tap it, remove all of the counters, and then create a fractal with +1/+1 counters equal to it.
That was too much. Wait.
It's like you don't even get counters left over for you to like proliferate afterwards. You literally have to remove the whole shebang, and then you get a creature that has no abilities, does not have haste, and just sits on the board.
I just feel like anytime you're at a table and no matter what's going on and someone starts doing complicated math, it's just like, it's not going to turn out well for you.
Let me just stop you.
Yeah.
Let me just stop you there.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Yeah. It got up to 12 counters, and then I finally was in the shit, like doing nothing, and I was like, well, I guess I finally have 6 mana, and these guys have gotten off my fucking back. So I'll activate, and I put a 12/12 on the board, and the awesome thing is I had a Hadana's Climb on the battlefield too, put a +1/+1 counter on it, flipped it, and then went to combat, activated the Hidden Temple of Arazka or whatever it is, or Winged Temple of Arazka, and then turned it into a 22/22 or something like that, and attempted to kill Kyle.
So you get that you were doing too much
And this is why-
putting the target on your back.
You do shit like that.
Yeah,
And we have to kill you.
So there's one more card that really focuses in on fractals that sort of like instigated the next little package I built into the deck, and that is Kasmina from Strixhaven. It is Kasmina Enigma Sage. It is a 3-mana planeswalker, 1 a green and a blue. Each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kasmina Enigma Sage. And so you can negate it. You can go get any instance or sorcery and then cast it for free. But the most important thing you can do is you can neg X and put a fractal on the frickin' battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. So that is the whole reason I put in this package of planeswalkers.
What the fractal? That's what you should call the deck.
What's that?
What the fractal?
What the fractal? And like I said, when I show up at a table with this deck, I'm like, guys, just any assumptions you might have, just please
I just want to resolve Kasmina.
temper your expectations.
Don't worry, I'm not trying to kill you with Atraxa the other way. It's a different way. It's a new, exciting way for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a new, exciting way to lose to Atraxa. Playing Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner just for that card draw. Oko, Thief of Crowns. Tameo, Field Researcher. And this one's just been a pet card of mine. And I know it's usually at the top of the EDH rec because if you're able to alt Tameo with a doubling season, you draw 3 cards, and then you get an emblem that says you may cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their costs.
That
So
never happens.
it's an omniscience.
Yeah.
It has happened.
Does it happen?
It's happened. But when I had the deck previously,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, when doubling season was like $30.
Yeah.
The new Teferi, Temporal Pilgrim, because I need to draw cards. Hey, I heard drawing cards is a good thing.
Love that guy.
And
Plus the counter synergy.
yeah, I wish it was the other way around. It was whenever you put a loyalty counter on him, you draw a card. That'd be sick. No.
I mean, for you in that deck,
Yeah,
proliferating.
so sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, Narset, Part of Veils. I'm playing Professor Onyx for that 2-card combo, Chain of Smog.
Of course.
The game just needs to end at a certain point, and we're all very passionate about that concept.
Yeah,
So
I
2.5
mean,
hour games.
There's not enough credit given to win the game on the spot combos when you need to end a 2.5 hour game.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we all hate, like, I mean, we're not we all, but like, I get that people in casual hate, like, the combo, Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, something super easy and cheesy.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're winning with Professor Onyx, it sticks around long enough for you to just find a Chain of Smog and some shit. Like,
Yeah,
sure, pull the ripcord. Let's start over.
Yeah, if you can resolve a 6 CMC planeswalker, and it survives for you to cast a absolutely useless sorcery that, like, the thing I love about Chain of Small combo is that, like, when you're casting it, you're either saying, hey, I'm going to win right now, or I'm going to be out of the game for as long as it takes for me to lose.
Yeah.
You know? You just let that player discard their hand copied enough times.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the World Gorger Dragon combo where it's like, if you kill it, I'm out. I don't lose, but I'm out.
And now that I'm reading Professor Onyx, outside of the Magecraft like text, which is the best part, she's not that strong.
No.
She just doesn't do a whole lot.
She's maybe the 5th or 6th most playable Liliana.
Yeah. And the only reason she's that high is because of the Magecraft.
Because of the combo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I decided to put Venser the Sojourner in here. Just because, again, for that like doubling season, you don't actually get the ult right away. But if you do happen to get to this ult, it says you can, all right, -8, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, exile target permanent. So, like I said, you need a way to end the game. If you're dragging it on and you finally get to this ult and the players are just stifled by everything you've been doing, it's a great way to just like shut it down and just end this game. I'm playing Ajani the Great-Hearted. For my fractals, creatures you control have vigilance, and then I can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker I control. One of the best planeswalkers in recent memory, which comes from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I've played this card in Historic, I played this card in Draft, and now I've played it in Commander, and it's Tamiyo, Completed Sage. Like, with these Phyrexian planeswalkers, I'm actually seeing the value here. I'm seeing the power. And it was when I got Wheel of Fortune, had to discard my Lightning Greaves to the graveyard, and I picked up a doubling season, cast it, and then activated Tamiyo to create a copy of my Lightning Greaves, and I created 2 copies and took over the game from there. It was incredible. So Tamiyo basically reads... for 2 blue, Phyrexian, green or blue, and then a blue, -X, exile target non-land permanent card with mana value X from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of that card. In a deck that is already playing lots of enchantments that want to like either double the number of counters or double the number of tokens, this ability just kind of gets out of control. It can help.
However you can double things, it's good.
Yeah, it can help you reestablish your board state after people have just been fucking with you the whole time. Because that's what this deck is. It's just like, yep, I'm target number 1. It does not matter who else is doing anything. Like, I am the target.
That +1 is also not nothing either.
Yeah, the +1 is tap up to 1 artifact or creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So you can definitely like hinder a critical piece and help it survive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I played it more in like limited and stuff like that, but holy crap, did that come in handy.
It's so annoying.
It's super annoying.
Like you have to give this planeswalker multiple targets for it to tap down. Otherwise, it's just gonna like if you can't muster another creature onto the board, if they're able to control you well enough, this is gonna take over the game.
Yeah, I mean, in 1v1, if you can like have removal for the other creature and always just tapping down the one on board, it's Jeej.
Yeah, this is definitely a card I would consider building as a commander in Brawl, just for the flexibility.
That's what I'm getting so excited about the Brawl concept for, is just all these new planeswalkers coming out. Like now we have the option with like the Phyrexian mana planeswalkers that could be your commander. Like that commander with alternate casting costs. Like that's very interesting.
I mean, that 1 Phyrexian mana is a turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a land drop. Like, we saw Vraska Betrayal Sting, which the difference between that at 6 CMC and 5 CMC is huge.
Huge.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you see like I guess reducing the cost of these Phyrexian planeswalkers, they do come in with less like it's almost like the amount of mana you're spending doesn't scale properly, but that's because you're paying life.
Yeah,
you're getting a turn early.
And I think the design on these is really interesting, not to get like too far out of there, but like it's, if you're using the Phyrexian mana, it's pretty much the choice between you can only activate the first ability or you have access to both abilities. And it's just a really cool design concept.
Yeah, if I wasn't considering ripping this deck in half, I would put Vraska, but the Betrayal's thing in here. It's just so good to have that second proliferate ability on a card. It's like one of the first upgrades from the new set. I know that there's so much stuff. There's so much new stuff that can come in and help like this Atraxa deck really take off. So
yeah, there's so much proliferate support that you got. Whereas even if it's not like focused on the actual synergies that you currently have in that deck, like having more access to proliferate at lower CMC cards and like more powerful cards,
yes,
like gives you so many options in Atraxa.
Yeah, you need that redundancy, and that's what that Vraska really offers. I'm also playing Ashiok, Dream Render. Any of these like staxing abilities are just incredibly powerful, especially when you want to play like you want a proxy, a time twister. It's really great. It's just shutting down. I think there were so many times when I played this and it stopped pretty much the whole table from doing whatever they wanted. And exiling graveyards, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Yeah, there's so much incidental usage of the graveyard.
Right. There's a lot of flexibility.
As you were just saying, even in this deck, where sometimes you just need to copy something out of the graveyard, and you're getting yourself a second chance.
It's like I'm seeing the value in a card through its incidental targeting of cards in the graveyard.
All the text on a card matters.
Yes.
I think a lot of people realized how good stopping search is when Opposition Agent came out, because it's super powerful. But like, Ashiok's been here, dog. Ashiok's been doing that.
Yeah, and it just gets overlooked. You literally have to direct your attack towards it, otherwise it's just going to stick.
Yeah, and then like exiling graveyards, that's not nothing.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind with Ashiok, you can mill yourself for 4 and then exile someone else's graveyard.
Yes.
So if you're a deck that's doing both those things, which in blue-black, you're going to be doing
you exile
both of those
everybody
things.
Else's.
It's a really great card. And especially, for an uncommon rarity Planeswalker.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, the Narset Parter of Veils, even then, like even that, it could have been a mythic. Like, and it would be crazy expensive, but I'm so happy they put it at uncommon just for us plebs out there who don't want to spend a ton of money on something that is crazy, crazy good.
Yeah, we're seeing that, like, obviously Planeswalkers are good with Atraxa. The Planeswalkers that don't have any plus abilities and just neg abilities also great with Atraxa, because they've been costed as such to intentionally not have plus abilities.
Right.
And yet, here they are getting more and more loyalty counters.
Yep.
Yeah, there was no proliferate in War of the Spark.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there definitely is.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I have one card that is just like monumental to this in this deck. I'll bring it up, and so it'll be a little surprise for you.
Okay, there we go.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. I got 3 more Planeswalkers. I got Kaya, Geist Hunter, because she specifically talks about creature tokens.
The one and only, right? We looked into this.
Yeah, it's the only
so
one.
few cards.
Yeah, the only one card, the one Planeswalker that talks about creature tokens and benefits them. Playing Karn the Great Creator, another stacks piece, but also another way to create creatures and, get an artifact out of exile if that's just so happens.
Yeah, it's almost like where because you already have proliferate, it makes dipping into a Super Friends type build worthwhile.
Yes. Like, these things are things you're literally having to redirect your attacks, and I have a flying vigilant death touch lifelink 4/4 that's just going to stand in the way of your most dangerous creature.
Pretty inconvenient.
Yeah, which is why she dies a lot.
That's why we kill Atraxa all the time.
Yeah, and then the last Planeswalker I'm playing is Elspeth Resplendent, and it's a 5-mana Planeswalker from New Capenna. +1, choose up to 1 target creature, put a +1/+1 counter and a counter among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance on it, and that is just super crucial to the fractal strategy. While these things are just, I don't know, stumps essentially with +1/+1 counters on it.
Actually giving them keywords.
Yeah, giving them like first strike or flying is
Plus just more +1/+1 counters to go around.
Exactly.
Love to see it.
And neg 3, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a permanent with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield with a shield counter. Again, super relevant.
Yeah, proliferating shield counters, that's actually crazy.
Yeah, and if you have doubling season out, the ult for creating 5 3/3 white angel creature tokens with flying, pretty damn good.
Who is the Planeswalker that cares about shield counters?
I think that's pretty much. Is there another one?
No, there's a white Planeswalker who's like shield counters is their thing. I forget the name, so I regret bringing this up in the conversation.
It might be the Planeswalker we just talked about, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, what was his name?
Elspeth.
No, not Elspeth.
Not Elspeth.
It's a non-Elspeth white planeswalker who cares about shield counters.
Jeez.
I think a
Yes.
recent introduction from War of the Spark.
Put it down in the
Yeah.
comments, y'all.
Yeah.
We need to know.
Yeah, but if you're doing something with shield counters, there is one specific guy who deals with them that I wish I could think of the name.
I can't think of it either. I really think I.
All right, let's move on. I'll look into it. Evan, what else? What's your other package?
Oh, right. So this is just the general good stuff that kind of goes in the deck outside of like the mana base. But I'm playing Herald of Secret Streams. Again, great with fractals. +1/+1 counters. It says creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them can't be blocked. So again, it turns those stumps with counters on them into something of value. And that just is something the deck has really needs. You have to have a lot of pieces stick to the board in order for this to really be a successful strategy. Aven Wind Guide. This is the other card that cares about creature tokens specifically that fits into this deck. It is a 4 mana, so 2 blue and a white, bird warrior with flying and vigilance. Creature tokens you control have flying and vigilance. And then it also has Embalm for a 4 white and a blue, and you can exile it from your graveyard to create a copy of it, and then it gives your tokens. Again, flying and vigilance, super relevant when you're talking about fractals that are otherwise useless. Playing Rhystic Study, card draw. Nobody seems to ever want to pay. No, everyone seems to want to pay for my Rhystic Study triggers.
I mean, because Atraxas
Kill
in the
'em.
command zone, so might as well just screw you every way possible.
Hadana's Climb. I talked about it a little earlier. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then if that creature has 3 or more, transform Hadana's Climb, and it becomes a Winged Temple of Arazka, which has tap for 1 of any color, or tap 1, a green and a blue, and itself. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, and flying. Where XX is its power. So it doubles its power.
This card comes out of nowhere and one-shots people literally all the time.
All the time. One of my favorite cards. Gyre Sage, for that mana. You got to get that sweet, sweet mana.
Dude, it's so good.
Another card from New Capenna. It's actually from the Commander decks. Resourceful Defense is shockingly good.
So good.
Shockingly. It's 2 and a white enchantment. Whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target permanent you control. And so if a planeswalker just happens to get blasted from the face of the earth or flickered, it literally just moves the counters onto another planeswalker, and you ult that bad boy and then move on. The other one comes back, and then you get new counters on it. It's
Yeah,
great.
that shit goes wild, actually.
Yeah, so if you want to play blue-white Super Friends with Flicker and Displacer Kitten, this is kind of wild for that. But you can pay 5, move any number of counters from target permanent to another target permanent you control. For both instances are permanents you control.
Right.
But yeah. The Ozolith, great stuff. Spark Double.
So good.
Unreal in Atraxa.
Spark Double is just always like, hey, you don't play me enough.
Hey,
I'm an amazing card.
I'm finally $10.
It's insane that's only $10. Like,
It's better than that.
it's for how few times, like literally one time it's ever been printed. It is a
Yeah.
crazy fucking card. It's a double commander. It copies planeswalkers. It gives you additional counters.
Yep.
It does a lot of crazy shit.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And-
And it's legal in Brawl.
Yes. Sword of Truth and Justice, Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. This is just, again, another one of those counter doubling effects. Just becomes crazy
It's
with
somewhere
fractals.
in the text on that card. I'm pretty sure.
Of
that
this
he's-
one?
Yeah, that he's doubling counters.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never bothered to read that entire novel, but
says something
I'm sure
about
it's
that,
on
though.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, if your opponents would put a counter on something, it's -1 a counter, So like if I were to proliferate, it would just do nothing regardless for you.
Is it a counter of any kind or just
no,
plus one counter?
If an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many rounded down. So it's when an opponent puts a counter. So I'm not sure if proliferate is affected by that or not.
No, you're putting
I
a
am
counter
doing
on
it.
it.
Yeah.
You're not the opponent.
All right. Astral Cornucopia, great mana rock, one of the best ones in the game for Atraxa. Doubling Season, another spicy new addition from New Capenna. It's Agent's Toolkit.
This is a really funny one.
This one's great, and I really overextended last game to like try to make this work, but it's 1 a blue and a green for an artifact clue. Agent's Toolkit enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter, a flying counter, a death touch counter, and a shield counter. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may move a counter from Agent's Toolkit onto that creature. And then you can pay 2, sacrifice it, draw a card. So it has the ability of being a clue, but also greater utility beyond that. The thing is that once you put Atraxa out there and this is out there, you just start proliferating, and then all of a sudden you're never running out of counters on this thing. So whatever fractals you're making are always going to have keywords. They're always going to have additional +1/+1 counters when they enter the battlefield.
It kind of sounds like a worse Ozolith, but in this shell, a better Ozolith.
Yeah. Because it provides like more utility for like it can provide Death Touch, flying, and shield.
It's the Ozolith that brings the counters to the party. Like it brings all the abilities to the table.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I've thought about it where bringing Atraxa out and then putting the shield counter on it, but then you lose the shield counter on the Agent's Toolbox forever. Now you proliferate the one on Atraxa, and so hopefully she doesn't get exiled and you can just keep protecting her with the shield counters. But here, the next card is the card I was talking about from War of the Spark that proliferates. And it's crazy. Flux Channeler.
Oh, yeah.
That
is that.
Yes.
That is that set.
Yeah, that is that set. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, which includes planeswalkers, you proliferate.
This card's like so busted and gets like 0 play.
Yeah. It's like, it's one of those things where I thought for a long time it said whenever you cast a instant or sorcery, proliferate.
Yeah.
But no, it's non-creature. So it's very similar in text to like Shark Typhoon or something like that, where it doesn't matter. You can play Planeswalkers with Shark Typhoon and it gets out of control.
Play artifacts, play enchantments.
Yeah, and it has relevant typing. It is a human wizard.
Yeah. No, it's actually a crazy card that nobody plays.
Yeah. Crystalline Crawler is the next card. Another one of the greatest mana rocks you can play in Atraxa. Enters a battlefield, +1/+1 counters on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. You can remove a counter, add 1 mana of any color. Esper Sentinel is awesome. And then beyond that, the rest of the deck is mostly just mana fixing, like trying to get the colors that you need to get Atraxa onto the battlefield. There's some protections like Heroic Intervention and Lightning Greaves.
I will say the one great nerf about Atraxa is that it is a 4-color commander.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the longest time, I was like, this is viable as a competitive commander. Nope. It's just the color restriction is too great.
It's just so hard. Like, RNG doesn't get you every time, but it's going to happen enough where just it's the difference between your deck being viable in a match and it not being viable is just that 4th color of mana.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's why partners have just like reigned supreme for a long time. You can split up the color combination.
Yeah, you don't need all 4 colors on one card.
Yeah, and they still reign supreme. They're still the best commanders in the game.
Yeah, look at Braille, like competitive commander, very good, very combo focused, but still barely gets tossed around these days because of how many better. Like Najeela is 2 in a red. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, a Jeweled Lotus away from a Najeela.
Yeah, like, how do you compare those two things? It's insane.
Because you can't Jeweled Lotus Brea into existence. If it was like 3 of any, 3 of any colors in any combination, it's like, then Jeweled Lotus would be banned.
Yeah, Jeweled Lotus kind of sucks. They got to make a better version of that.
I just looked at it recently. It's $130 on Card Kingdom.
That is for the basic
That's
one.
for the basic
How
one.
much
We're not
the
talking
foil at?
over 1,000 for the board with foil.
Yeah. It was 180 for the foil. So
Let's go, baby.
yeah, if you got some Skrilla laying around, that's still a great investment. I do not know if they'll ever reprint that.
I don't think they should. I don't think it should have ever happened to begin with.
If Dominaria Remastered shows us anything, and Magic 30 as well shows us anything, Wizards is dipping their toes into reprinting whatever they want.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing
Fair enough.
is, as far as like we talked about the life cycle of cards last week, and you can check out that episode. I'll post it in the description. You can also find it at the end of this episode. But we talked about the financial life cycle of cards, and now it's more erratic than ever because you just never know. Everything's tanking. Everyone's saying keep your hands off of Dominaria Remastered because it's gonna plummet. So
I mean, besides the Force of Will variants, there's nothing chasing there that you can't expect to get reprinted again. I mean, Dominaria Remastered really exists to give you more options for cards that you're already playing, and then get some extra money for wizards there. But it's for the collectors, it's going to tank value because tons of it's being printed and opened.
Yeah, that's a little side tangent. We'll probably circle back on that topic in the future.
I got more.
I mean, we should check in 6 weeks after the release of Dominaria.
I think it is actually giving. There's good things too, because not everybody is like a intense collector-minded person, and getting worldly tutors out there and into people's hands that make their green decks better is good.
I mean, those are cards that go without question in whatever color of mana you're using. Grab that tutor cycle and just put it in your deck.
Right.
Like,
That's a great
why
way for
not
people
have
to
a million copies of it?
Yeah, start building your own collection too. These cards are definitely going to go up at some point. Yes, I think we can't really predict what's going on right now with everything, but worldly tutor's going to go up.
Yeah, incredibly playable cards that now have borderless foil variants are going to continue to climb. Like, you get it at its lowest point, hopefully, and then it will resurge and be back in the market, or at least generate some sort of profit for you at somewhere down the line.
That being said, I'm still waiting like a few more weeks to buy anything from Dominaria.
Yes.
Finally, really dialing in on Atraxa right here.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of these cards are cards that I'm playing in Atraxa. It's like you need the worldly tutor so that you can go find your pieces like Dika, so you can make combos happen, or you can make fractals happen. You're playing Enlightened Tutor, so you can make doubling seasons happen. You're playing Mystical Tutor, so you can make other fractal things happen.
What about Vampiric Tutor though? What are you making happen with that though?
Anything. It's an unconditional tutor.
You can make fractals happen.
Fractals.
Fractalaxa. That is so that's pretty much a great idea of what this Atraxa deck does, and it's something that is just a little bit more fun than I've seen in the past. I think it's just been savage for so long, and it has such a bad reputation, and I still hate it. I still hate how bad the reputation is. I tried really hard. I really wanted it to come back, but I shouldn't have slapped you guys so hard with it back in the day. Oops.
He likes to win.
I did it to myself. But
we'll come back next week and see what new deck Evan has after he's completely dismantled this one.
It's Rive, a weekend dude. The Liberated Primeval.
There we go.
Yeah, Rive, Liberated Primeval
Sick
is my
art.
next deck. I am super stoked to talk about that eventually.
Stay tuned for a little deck tech. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Anybody else have anything?
No, thank you guys for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All the socials down below within the MoxStars Podcast.
I said bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.